The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is September 9th, 2020. This is episode 204. And you know me, I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to another live stream episode of the podcast where what do we do here? We think outside the cage. What else do? We talk about biblical news about tomorrow brought to you today and share all of our crazy ideas about the news.
Crazy ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's best, Gonz? We're not getting deplatformed.
Yeah, not yet anyway. The whole title of this episode was meant to trigger just all the platforms. Maybe Twitch doesn't like it because
we'll be fine.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well,
we can't get in trouble for spreading sanity, Gonz. That's the thing, you know. A lot of people, they get banned from different platforms. You obviously getting demonetized on YouTube. So, you know, but they can't ban you for spreading sanity and reasonable thinking and ideas.
I don't know.
See,
about
that's
that.
our secret. That's our secret. People think we're in the Illuminati because we're not banned. No, we just know how to. We know how to, you know, not get kicked off a platform. That's the key. All right. What's going on with you? What's the news?
Well, I apologize for the Monday no-show episode.
Yeah.
I was celebrating my, scores.
The score's 12?
No.
Is that 12?
No, come on, man.
14. It's 14.
No. 4 scores and 7 years ago. How many years was that? Do you know?
I don't know. What's a score? 10 years. It's 10 years.
Really? Celebrating my mother's 3 scores and 8, so she's 38.
Oh my gosh,
Come on, do some math.
You're making me mad. You're making me mad. I don't know how old your mom is.
Sin Kitty in the chat knows it. 20 years. A score is 20 years. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, they brought Fortnite back with the game, so I'm going to bring back scores,
Okay.
Especially as I approach 2 scores, Basil.
Oh
2
my
scores
gosh.
and -2 at the moment.
Oh my goodness. All right. Numbers are a little low again today, Gonz. They're really getting us. They're
I know. If anybody has,
I mean, there's foul play afoot.
I know there's foul play.
We can drop by 80%. We're down 80% from an average over like 8 months.
I know, but still, if we can get a whole bunch of people to join, it could still. I
guess
know the
they don't
notifications aren't going out.
Yeah. They don't have to deplatform you if they just turn off notifications. All right. Well, that's good. Let's see. What was the last show? Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Friday. It's getting a little cooler where I am. It's no longer 100 degrees every day.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the temperature
you've got
manipulation. Yeah, we have our wild limited time.
Here. Is this something you wanted to talk about?
I do want to mention because a lot of people have been messaging me about it. I know about Richie from Boston and how his channel was deleted off YouTube. So
full on deletion.
Full on deletion. I don't know what he did. If he had any strikes or if I don't know what the whole story is. If it was a copyright thing or if it was just content. Because you can get banned for that kind of stuff. Obviously, I got a strike.
Racism. It's because he's from Boston.
He's from Boston. That's why.
Yeah.
And also, Never Lose Truth is having some personal life issues. If you guys want to go visit their channel there, Never Lose Truth. Got some messages about. Just wanted to let it be known that I know about some of the people that have been impacted. And again, we're trying to... but also not. So
one talent weapon. All right. Well, speaking of which, Gonz, I think it's time to get into the stories. And of course, I hear them. They're chanting for it. They're outside. They're protesting my home because we have not yet jumped in to the Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Before you start, I totally
right.
forgot about
Oh.
something. Totally forgot. I need to do a virtual conference, so I'll be putting together my presentation. And so anybody interested, hearthewatchmen.com. The virtual conference is September 25th, 26th, 27th. And you can sign up and support the people over there. Hear the Watchmen. There's a bunch of us doing the virtual conference there. So, and I'll be a part of it. And again, I'll be presenting about and otherwise. So yep, hearthewatchmen.com if anybody's interested in that. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Flippy, update.
No, that's okay. Actually, and we'll plug my Twitter one more time. Started up my Twitter last week. This is great. We're up at about 321 followers. We need to keep that growing, and I'm gaining steam. Starting to gain some steam on convincing prosthetic mech racing to help me get my training. So if you haven't done it yet, I'm so flattered. We had some what he can do for me. It's a whole lot of fun. Go follow me on Twitter, Basil_Rosewater. Do that now. I'll talk to you.
The bit rate jumps from anywhere between 4,000 kilobytes per second, which is pretty normal, to like 200, and then it just skips back and forth. So I don't know. I mean, we've done everything over here as far as we've gone through our steps of troubleshooting, but I don't know why it throttles so much, and there's so much lag every time we try to live stream. We've already dropped
It's a colloquial name we have for the disembodied robot arm originally created by Miso Robotics, another Twitter friend of mine. And we use the conversations about Flippy as a proxy conversation to discover and call the shots of how robots and AI are sneaking their way into our lives. Not just that, but stealing our jobs, enslaving our children, and, no joke, flirting with our spouses. So today I am coming from CNET.com, so a very reliable technology source here. And the headline is T-Mobile used a 5G connected robot to give someone a tattoo. We got a lot of stuff in B-for tattoo. I was in scare quotes there, was needled into the skin by a robot arm being controlled by a tattoo artist and another. Gonz to the command. Someone tests on an army of heroic vegetables and prosthetic skin samples. T-Mobile said Tuesday. T-Mobile, the brand, said Tuesday. Dutch tattoo artist Wes applied the tattoo on Dutch actress Stijn Fransen for the experiment. There were a number of steps that had to be accomplished on the way to inking this moment in teleartistry. Quote, firstly, we needed to work out how to track the tattoo artist's movements and detect when he was making contact with the surface of a fake practice arm and transmit its data over the 5G network, said Noel Drew, who built the tattooing robotic arm. Quote, secondly, we had to develop a robotic platform that could receive this data in real time and control the robot's movements in relation to the human arm. Thirdly, we needed to telestream. Very interesting, some interesting things in the video. One of them, they talk about how tattooing is a ritual and how cool it is to get robots involved in this ritual. And so, first of all, I want to say, is artistry, is art. They can never do what we do. And I don't know, man. It's this tattoo artist business, wiggling their way into this business as well. Now, of course, there's connections to be made all over the place with this. Of course, there's a lot of talk about the tattoo, the Luciferase tattoo, which can be used as sort of an ultraviolet. And we're all forced to get our vaccinations. We're wondering, Fairrace, of course, very suspect there. But it glows, gives off light. And that's one way that we can mark people on the forearm or the forehead to know if they got vaccinated. And interesting thing to note with this robot arm tattooed in the experiments, unfortunately, the end product kind of looks like the FBI categorized one of the pedophilia symbols. Yeah. So that was unfortunate for this actress, whether that was on purpose or not. She got a the FBI recognized boy lover symbol, tattooed on her arm, which was unfortunate, but maybe she didn't know. I don't know. I don't know anything about this woman. And then, of course, being 5G, I mean, what are we even doing as humans if we can't give tattoos from, hundreds of miles away using robots? I don't even know how we survived before this technology. So there you go. Watch out, tattoo artists. Flippy's coming for you.
Yeah. Yep, it squashed a tomato the first time, and I got to put my arm under this thing.
They had some failed experimental footage where they were trying to, what is the word? I don't know, calibrate the machine, and it was just stabbing this needle like an inch or two deep into the vegetables, the experimental vegetables.
Yeah, and she's a little too excited about getting the first 5G tattoo. So, very interesting. T-Mobile has always kind of been part of an NWO agenda type of situation there with their ads, but this is a next level. Robot arm, the left arm, to not get any...
What is the... what's the...
Well,
what's
it would be super
Why is the
obvious.
Left arm important?
It would be like too obvious if it's the right arm or like the right hand, it'd be too obvious. So they got to do the left. They can't say nothing.
Okay. His way in the chat says, what's real about 5G versus scaremongering? I want to know. My personal thing, look, I get it. I've seen it all. I've heard it all. I've read it all. I'm aware of all of the theories surrounding 5G. I can tell you brain and gives you cancer, all sorts of stuff like that, type stuff, which not to belittle that. That's very important. But as far as hard scientific evidence, technically 5G is within fan. I'm not mostly. It's going to.
Do you?
Look it up.
They lose any kind of frequency.
Wi-Fi signals do that if you get too close. Most electromagnetic radiation, if you get too close at high concentrations, it is extremely dangerous. And that's the main, I think, legit worry about 5G is
immediately, like everyone's expecting.
Us humans have been really good at killing ourselves slowly out of convenience.
5G shill. All right. Well, we'll move on from this T-Mobile story. We got a few updates here.
We interrupt this broadcast to give you a brief update. By the end of this timely interruption, you will be thoroughly updated.
This is from BBC News. Coronavirus, social gatherings above 6 banned in England from 14th of September. Yeah, so the law change will ban larger group meetings anywhere socially indoors or outdoors, the government said, but it will not apply to schools, workplaces, or COVID-secure weddings, funerals, and organized team sports. It will enforce it through a 100, is that francs, on each offense, up to a maximum £3,200. So there it is. If you don't have a license to gather with more than 6 people in England, you will be fined.
All these kids and their parties, man.
Yeah. Just say you're at protesting. That's the big thing, right? If you're there to protest, you're good. Or if you're at a school or a workplace, we're just working. But what's up with all the drinks? It's just work.
It's work. It's casual Friday, man.
Yeah, and they were hoping he's like the Trump clone over there, but I don't know that it's working out the way people expected. So there you go. Yeah. People in England, beware, or pay a fine, or if you can afford £3,200, just have that on the ready. Maybe if you just give the money, you can just kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't know. Money. I wonder if are they doing stimulus packages in England? Are they sending, I don't know. I have to look into that. If our British listeners, let us know. Because if they're sending out the stimulus packages, you can just pay your fines with that.
It's a good way for the government to pretend like they're giving people money, but they're just giving it to themselves. Here's
Yeah, right.
£3,200 for you to do whatever you'd like. But if you just pay it back, then it goes right
Ain't
back to
that
the
just the
government.
way it goes?
Yeah. So there you go. Quick update there. We got more COVID stuff later, but more closer to where we are here in the Americas.
Burn it all.
Is burning in Oregon. This is Fox News via MSN.com. Wildfire emergency in Oregon as it faces once-in-a-generation event. Medford under evacuation orders. Have you seen the pictures out of Oregon, Basil? It's pretty apocalyptic.
The fires, I know, it just keeps getting worse and worse. It's crazy.
Yeah, it says here thousands of residents across Oregon remain under evacuation orders Wednesday as fast-moving fires burn through at least 2 towns, and the state's governor declared a wildfire emergency. It says here that the U.S. Forest Service's Pacific Northwest region said there are 20 large wildfires burning across Oregon and Washington that have destroyed some 476,027 acres as extreme fire weather continues across the region. So, they don't like some of the things going on up there. Burn it up.
Extreme fire weather.
Yeah.
Now we have fire weather?
Fire weather. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Oh, no.
I know. Yeah, I was looking at some Twitter feed. I think downtown Staten, and I mean, it just looks straight out of a. Oh, I was trying to play it without sound. It just looks straight out of an apocalyptic movie. It's like all red and dark and eerie and scary, and the only thing missing are the zombies walking the streets.
Round out.
We won't have to deal with too much of this for too much longer, but we'll see.
Are you distracted? Are you distracted today?
Yeah, there's a lot of distractions happening. There's like power surges happening in the room and wife texting and I mean, yeah, there's a lot going on. Sorry about that.
Get on your game.
I know. Computer lagging.
Gonz.
I know. Computer lagging. Okay. Moving on here. More to do with the weather. Let's see. This is a tweet sent out by Bridget Mahoney TV. A near record temperature drop. Denver, 93 degrees yesterday to 34 degrees today with rain and snow. A 59 degree difference. Talk about a shock to the system. The all-time record 24-hour drop in Denver was 66. 66. Back in 1872 when the temp went from 46 degrees to negative 20, which is more of a, cold to like really, really cold, which is kind of understandable. But 90, that's insanity.
Yeah.
Yep. You got nothing to say about that? You're just sweet, super cold.
No, that's what I was saying. It's cooling off really fast, man. I'm not a weather scientist. I have no idea why, but it's pretty crazy. But if it's what am I going to be surprised? Am I surprised that 2020 is bringing apocalyptic weather changes?
Yeah.
No, not surprised. But I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, well, I noticed this. People were sharing this over before the weekend, last weekend, and because the forecast was showing like burning hot and then 34 degrees on a Tuesday, which was really weird. But there's a video that some people shared with me, and I think the one that I got was from one of our producers, sort of weather conspiracy type of channel on YouTube. And the title of the video, Russian Weather Engineering Over North America. And it's an old lecture, but he was playing it over some like real-time Earth weather system data stuff, earthquake monitors and whatnot. But yeah, he goes over some of the technology and how they've had the ability to manipulate weather. Nothing surprising for our listeners here, but a resource for anybody who is curious about the lecture. Before they take it down in the description of canarycrynewstalk.com. And he also had another video that claimed that he captured some kind of
recently about whether or not these fires are directed energy weapon,
right.
if they're the culprits. And in my opinion, it might be. Now, here's the thing. Keep in mind, directed energy weapons is beams shooting, allegedly starting fires. But the thing with real directed energy weapons is that they're invisible. That's
Right.
kind of the whole point about them.
Yeah.
And so, if you're seeing videos or pictures of, here's evidence of the directed energy weapon out there, this for whatever reason, there's a number of reasons, whether chaos, et cetera, whatever it may be. It's nothing that says that it's not, but it doesn't need to be. And whether or not it's being started by directed energy weapons or just a guy with a flamethrower, a purposeful chaos spreading event, it doesn't really matter.
It spreads the
if they're
chaos
using
either
new
way.
DARPA black budget technology or just a match.
Right. Well, I think there's some heat wave type of technology that can spot some of the laser beams if they're being used, but I'm more compelled by some of the evidence of directed energy weapons, not just the existence of them because we know they exist, but it's the type of burns where like half the car is burnt, almost one side, perfectly to a crisp, and then like a line, and then just nothing on the other side. Stuff like that's where it's like, it doesn't seem normal. But in the case of these types of fires, we don't know what kind of stuff they got going on. You can get it. It could be both. It could be some guy being paid off to start a fire with a match. And then, hey, just put that magnifying glass a little hotter over that little region there so the fire gets a little hotter or whatever. So you never know. The point being, a lot of chaos. And
again, and the reason that we have these conversations, I mean, try to mix in like black budget super technology. It just makes the conversation that much harder, and it kind of is besides the point. It doesn't really matter what is causing the fires if they are indeed being started on purpose. When you're really trying to logically think through it, you don't need space lasers to start fires.
Dento being of government and shadowy agencies instigating something or someone to do something.
It's easier to pay a junkie to go start a fire and then just disappear him than it is to keep a secret with a DARPA weapon, which would involve, a bunch of people to operate. I mean, you're talking, it would take a couple hundred people to control the satellite and to control the weapons and to this and to that. And
or
those
just
are the
the aliens.
That you can't. Or the aliens. And those are the people you can't disappear and who end up writing books later on down the line. True. So there's loose ends either way.
Yeah, we'll just, we have this conversation because we are particularly sensitive to the normie conversation. We're trying to feed you guys how to approach the normies.
Yeah, we're trying to rise above the sort of the pleasure of super obscure, looking into super obscure conspiracy theories and trying to bring it into a more sane conversation that, can actually reveal the important parts of the truth to people versus, just looking like another tinfoil hat wearer.
Well, the thing is, too, the evidence for weather manipulation been done, the patents that exist. I mean, it's if you want to, apprise your normie about those things with a situation like this, absolutely do it.
But it's all in a matter of time, and it's a matter of how many friends you can keep before they realize the truth.
Yep. All right.
I think it's time to move on.
Okay, here we go.
COVID.
Vaccine.
Okay, everybody, a little update with the vaccine stuff coming on. First of all, I've got an article here from statnews.com that I want to at least read you some of, Gonz. Are you ready?
Yep.
AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine study put on hold due to suspected adverse reaction in participant in the UK. Operation Warp Speed, baby. Come on. We don't have time to put these vaccines on hold. Here we go. The article reads, a large phase 3 study testing a COVID-19 vaccine being developed by AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford at dozens of sites across the U.S. has been put on hold due to a suspected serious adverse reaction in a participant in the United Kingdom. No way. No way. A spokesperson for AstraZeneca, a front runner in the race for a COVID-19 vaccine, said in a statement that the company's, quote, standard review process triggered a pause to vaccination to allow review of safety data. In a follow-up statement, AstraZeneca said it initiated the study hold. The nature of the adverse reaction and when it happened were not immediately known, though the participant is expected to recover. According to an individual familiar with the matter. I hate that when this whole new movement, it used to never be that a news outlet, could keep a source as, quote, a routine action which has to happen whenever there is a potentially unexplained illness in one of the trials, while it is investigated, ensuring of the single event to minimize any potential impact on the trial timeline. An individual familiar with the development said researchers had been told the hold was placed on the trial out of an abundance of caution. Been a while since we've heard that. A second individual familiar with the matter who AstraZeneca vaccine trials underway, as well as on the clinical trials being conducted by other vaccine manufacturers. Clinical holds are not uncommon, and it's unclear how long AstraZeneca development are being closely watched. Given its in phase 3 trials, AstraZeneca is the first phase 3 COVID-19 vaccine trial known to have been put on hold. Researchers running other trials are now looking for similar cases of adverse reactions by combing through databases reviewed by so-called Data and Safety Monitoring Board, the second person said. Yeah, why so-called? Okay, that's very suspicious. AstraZeneca only began its phase 3 trial in the U.S. in late August. The U.S. trial is currently taking place at 62 sites across the country, according to clinicaltrials.gov. I'm just going to have to save that link here. Hold on. A government in Brazil and South Africa. There are a number of different reactions that can qualify as suspected serious adverse reactions, symptoms that require hospitalization, life-threatening illnesses, and even death. Occurred in, though a clear possibility is the phase 2 President Trump's efforts to fast-track a vaccine ahead of
Yeah.
Twitch actually looks fine. No, it doesn't. Okay. No, it does not. There we go. I reported that about 60% subsided during the course of the study. The vaccine, known as AZD1222, uses an adenovirus that carries a gene. Is designed to induce the immune system to generate a protective response against SARS-2. The platform has not yet been used in an approved vaccine, but has been tested in experimental vaccines against other viruses, including the Ebola virus. So what they're referring to their vaccines reaction, which has got some people spooked. Continuing, the phase 3 trial in the U.S. aims to enroll about 30,000 participants at 80 sites across the country, the U.S., in response to the holds. Clinical holds in ongoing studies often involve a pause in recruiting new participants and dosing spokespersons. So there you go. Vaccine.
Interesting that they don't actually tell you what it was. Hoping to hear what the actual reaction.
Very serious response this person's having.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the stream here. Now. It must be the internet weather controllers. But back to the vaccine study here. As a counter to this, there was a Politico, but it says here 9 pharmaceutical companies developing coronavirus vaccines issued an unusual joint pledge Tuesday to stick to safety and science amid mounting public fears that pre-election politics could drive vaccine decisions.
Science is truth.
Has dropped as President Donald Trump has repeatedly predicted. It goes on. I'm not going to really get into all of it, but it's just interesting how even amidst the trials and some of the issues going on, they try to blame Trump out of it. Like, oh, it's Trump's fault. He's the one. He's trying to go too fast, trying to make it political.
Oh yeah, no, Orange Man bad. Why isn't he making a vaccine available? Why is he making a vaccine available too fast? It's all his fault.
We're not going to be political at the center of attention this year because of this whole virus situation. And I actually tweeted this out, and I'll just read it through because I have all my sources here. But it's concerning some of the stuff that's been going on in Africa, and the UN actually admitting to some issues with the polio vaccine. Did you hear about this, Basil?
No, I didn't hear about it.
Okay, so this is my tweet thread here. I'll kind of explain it along the way. I said a short story about Africa and vaccines told via screenshots from public information. So this is not fringe conjecture. This is free of wild polio. And the headline here,
Wild polio.
Africa now free of wild polio virus, but polio threat remains.
And the article, you still got to watch out for the domesticated polio.
Well, yeah, but the article states, I have the screenshot here, that it's a vaccine-derived polio. So it says Tuesday declared the health authorities on Tuesday declared the African continent free of the wild polio virus after decades of effort, though cases of vaccine-derived polio are still sparking outbreaks of the paralyzing disease. Polio. Yeah. Are still sparking outbreaks of the paralyzing disease in more than a dozen countries. So hold on.
That is funny.
Wow. How in the world can you say that you're free of the polio virus except for the vaccine-derived polio? Like, hello.
That is pretty crazy.
Okay, wow. I'm not done. So the next tweet here. A couple days later, on September 2nd, AP News says polio outbreak in Sudan connected to oral vaccine. So they're starting to kind of admit it. And it says here the World Health Organization says a new polio outbreak in Sudan is linked to an ongoing vaccine-sparked epidemic in Chad, a week after the UN Health Agency declared the African continent free of the wild polio virus. And it's funny because they use the exact same picture of this poor boy, African boy getting an oral vaccine.
Right.
So what this is referencing about the UN is an actual document that the UN published on September, if anybody wants to take a look at this. So circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus type 2 Sudan. That's the name of the World Health Organization article here, directly from them, stating that there's what's circulating a vaccine-derived poliovirus. And again, this is the type of vaccine here is the BOPV type 1 and 3. And what do you know? No surprises here. The oral vaccine called BOPV is directly connected to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation website there, I guess, of the BOPV for polio, global development.
Wow.
So there you go. You don't have to be a crazy conspiracy theorist to connect these dots about the agenda here and the kind of money that this great philanthropist Bill, going on all these channels and get the vaccine, the same guy. So all I'm saying is be careful out there.
Be careful out there. Yeah. No. And of course, we've been told over and over and over that vaccines don't shed viruses, which we're seeing the exact opposite with this polio problem. Man, vaccine-derived polio spreading that just dismantles every vaccine argument ever.
Yeah.
Not to say that the polio, wild polio, has been tamed, but that's.
Oh yeah, fun.
The race wars.
Race war.
I've warned you and warned you and warned you.
I've warned you. This is NewYorkPost.com, NYPost.com. Rochester PD's entire command staff retires amid Daniel Prude protests. The Rochester Police Department's entire command staff announced their retirement on Tuesday, the mayor there said, amid raging protests over the death of Daniel Prude, the black man who was killed while being subdued by city cops while he suffered an apparent breakdown. Chief Laron Singletary, a 20-year veteran of the force. Hold on, I got to make my font bigger. Here we go. Chief Laron Singletary, a 20-year-old veteran of the force and Deputy Chief Mayor Lovely Warren and the City Council about last night's demonstrations. During the meeting, Warren told council members that, quote, the entire Rochester Police Department's command staff has announced their retirement, adding that Deputy Chief Mark Simmons was also stepping down. Quote, there may be a number of others who will decide to leave as well and retire, Warren warned. Rochester native Singletary, 40, had faced calls to resign from Black Lives Matter activists over his handling of the investigation into Prude's March death, though he'd said as recently as Sunday that he wouldn't step down. The mayor stressed that Singletary, who was named chief in April 2019, hadn't been asked. The chief has felt that his career and integrity has been challenged, Warren said. He has dedicated 20 years to this city and feels that the events lasted what he called the, quote, mischaracterization, which is a crazy word to try to spell, and the politicization of the actions that I took after being informed of Mr. Prude's death. As a man of integrity, I will not sit idly by while outside entities attempt to destroy my character, the statement said. The events over the past week are an attempt to destroy my character and know what I stand for. Marabito, who oversees the department's operations bureau, didn't state a reason, saying in a statement that serving on the force was one of the proudest achievements of my lifetime. Quote, I have often reflected on my time growing up in the city and the many friends and neighbors who helped guide me and encouraged my decision to become an officer, Marabito said. I have never regretted that decision and the people who I have had the privilege of assisting throughout my service. No successors were immediately named. The mayor said she didn't yet have an exact date for the retirements as she was in it for not supporting your people. But there you go, Gonz. We've been seeing it happen here and there across the state. I actually have personally known some police officers who called it quits. And now, you know, the entire retirement of a command staff on a police force can be a pretty big thing. I mean, I'm wondering if this is considered a win by the Black Lives Matter people.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is one of those situations
I guess it
where
would be.
It would be, I suppose. But what are you going to, I mean, I don't know. This is one of those issues where I feel really bad.
Who are they going to replace them with that's better?
Qualified.
Like that they would be, man. Yeah, it's a tough life when the entire country is against you.
Yeah, it's pretty out of control. And I'm not surprised by the story, but I wanted to include it because it's one of those situations where I think we're going to see a lot more of this. And meanwhile, you have not violent, but
sure.
People with guns and stuff to protect their homes and whatnot.
You know, the disturbing thing that this could lead to is a couple of things that have been bandied about, which A is the privatization of the police force, where now you have corporations running police forces, kind of like, the first fire departments in, like in New York and in the big cities that first started developing fire departments, they were all privately owned. They were businesses and companies. And kind of how the way fire insurance worked back then, how fire insurance started was you were just paying basically for protection, paying these firefighting, this little placard you had up in your building that said, we pay for fire insurance, save our building. But if one of these fire department corporations came in and you didn't have a placard, they'd just walk away. They wouldn't even put out your fire if you didn't pay. And unfortunately, that's there is a world where the future of policing will be, defund the police, our taxes don't pay for police anymore. Instead, you have to pay for like a police membership. And, the cops, if you call the cops, you got to give your membership ID, kind of like AAA or something. And if you're not a paying member, they just won't show up.
Which makes no sense. It's like, hey, down with the system. Let's just make sure the rich people can protect themselves better.
Well, that's the thing. That's the backlash that's going to happen. If you defund government tax-paid police, you're going to have private enterprise come in, and you're going to have to pay them. So somebody's got to pay them.
Yeah. And
it's going to be you.
It is. And it's really, I always go back to this passage in Daniel 11:38 that talks about the man of sin and how he's going to, he's not going to honor the gods of his fathers, but instead honor the God of forces, which is translated fortresses, the Hebrew, or I guess it's Aramaic, Uz. And it means a place or means of safety protection. And so there's I don't know, there's a movement happening in this direction where somebody, the wealthy people are going to have the kind of militant protection. It's almost like the old days, before we had nation states where people
it's
just
serfdom.
And now we got these really rich people with important server rooms that they can't be breached, physically or electronically. So they have to have these crazy fortresses. Very interesting.
Better have a Bitcoin.
Better
have a Bitcoin if you want the cops to show up.
But there you go. Yeah, more turmoil and expected in many ways. And this actually leads into the reason why we named this episode BLM, as in not the movement, but B like become, and L like God or gods. L in
Elohim,
like Elohim, and M, which is the emulant humans. And I had a lot of people in the last few weeks send me this video clip of what's his name here? This is a show called The Hamilton Corner, and the video is titled The BLM Connection to Witchcraft. And again, getting so many people send me this clip, so I'll talk about it because I watched it before, but because of the amount of people sending it, I'll play a couple minutes of it to get a feel for what this gentleman here exposed, or at least brought to light. And basically, we all heard about one of the co-creators of the BLM organization openly stating that she was a Marxist, and everyone ran with that, like, oh look, she says she's a trained Marxist. Well, there was a little bit more that was revealed in another interview that she conducted, talking about like communicating with spirits and meeting a person that's involved, not in physical, like person to person, but in some kind of spirit thing. But then there was, they got into the idea of hashtags and what the hashtag is, especially hashtag BLM or Black Lives Matter. And it's an interesting clip. So I'll play a little bit of this, I think he's a pastor or the person who runs this Hamilton Corner. I apologize, I don't have the name in front of me here, but I'll play it's him, and then he'll play a clip from the co-founder of BLM.
You're going to find that Dr. Abdullah and Patrice Cullors talks about summoning the spirits of the dead, using the power of the spirits of the dead in order to give them the ability to do what they're calling the so-called...
Oh, good. Just throttling the video.
Justice work. You're going to find that what they're describing is their adherence to the Yoruba religion of Ifa or Ifa, to where they are summoning dead spirits. If you think I'm laughing, because you might have heard many people saying, oh, you're making all of this noise about Black Lives Matter, it's just a hashtag. Oh, really? Listen to clip number 4. This is Patrice Cullors.
It's a very important practice. Hashtags are, for us, are way more than a hashtag. It is literally almost resurrecting a spirit so they can work through us to get the work that we need to get done. For things that your loved one who passed away would want, whether it's like honey or tobacco, things like that. And it's so important, not just for us to be in direct relationship to our people who've passed, but also for them to know we've remembered them. I believe so many of them work through us.
Now, in case you're wondering who that is speaking, that is Patrice Cullors, co-founder of the Black Lives Matter organization, the same one you just heard saying we.
And he brought up in that clip, and hashtags, if you compare it to, the esoteric writings about magic, hashtags fit.
2017, I think it was February. There's a link in the description. This was concerning the twin more and more. They really don't like us talking about these topics. But
Yeah,
then the
that's gonna
other
happen.
thing, the other thing that same year 2000, they made a video talking about human emulates. There was a guy named Robert Hansen who did a TED Talk. This is a TED Talk, not TEDx, by the way. I know there's a lot of wild, crazy lectures on TEDx, but this is actually a TED Talk.
It's a good note to make.
Yeah, it is a good note to make because people always say like, it's a TEDx talk. It's a little on the fringes. No, this was a TEDx or a TED Talk, a normal one. And he describes what M's are. And let me just play a little bit from that digitization and how demons are manifesting in a sort of digital world and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you'll probably always notice that virtual realities, for example, your mind just always runs at the same speed, but an M can add more or less computer hardware to run faster or slower. And therefore, if the world around them seems to be going too fast, they can just speed up their mind and the world around them will seem to slow down. In addition, an M can make a copy of itself at that moment. This copy will remember everything the same, and if it starts out with the same speed, looking at the same speed, it might even be told, you can be immortal, in principle, though not usually in practice. And an M can move its brain, the computer that represents its brain, from one physical location to another. M's can actually move around the world at the speed of light. And by moving to a new location, they can interact more quickly with M's near that new location. So far, I've been talking about what M's can do. What do M's choose to do?
You can watch the rest of the lecture there, but again, M's, according to Robin Hansen here, and connect that to the whole thing we just talked about with the BLM lady saying we're channeling spirits and that sort of thing. It's just very weird. The whole thing is very weird, and it goes into that idea of
what are these exactly? Is this software or is it hardware?
It is software. It's software that's being. He talks about hardware being the server rooms. We have our physical world, but he goes on in this lecture. You might be interested in watching it, Basil, in full. It's only 12 minutes long. But he talks about how, we experience our world and the physical world, and here we are. But to an M, their physical experience is virtual. They will live in the virtual reality as conscious entities.
Like conscious avatars.
Yeah, they're conscious avatars created by humans, so they're going to do what we would do. It's kind of like the sentient world simulation that we talked about years ago. This guy's actually bringing that more to life. And it's funny, at the beginning of the lecture, he says, if you're not slightly disturbed by what I'm saying, you're not paying attention.
Right.
So he's really...
I think that same thing all the time.
I know, but this guy is not, he's not a biblical eschatology guy. Cray,
Yeah. Well, even in the conversation about how, again, going into some theories being espoused, even by us in the past, of, you talk about spirits and especially dark spirits of different kinds being able to inhabit, cyber spaces.
Right.
And, a lot of talk about, dark spirits being able to inhabit. Specifically, we've talked about androids and sort of soulless bodies.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of the same thing with these M's, but in a virtual sense where they can inhabit, they don't need to inhabit a physical android body when you've got, the entire collection of human knowledge and interaction space. The idea that they would,
It's not that funny. He goes on to talk about it's hilarious. He goes on to talk about how they're basically going to be slaves, like they're going to work, and how it's going to impact the economy because their work is going to impact how we live and vice versa.
Right.
And so it's just very fascinating how he sees the development of this technology and how they're really, really trying to build it. And, I'm sure Elon Musk is part of this process, and we saw the pigs.
The pigs, yeah.
Which was very underwhelming. Yeah, very underwhelming example. But there you go. That's where we got the whole concept here. It was kind of a mashup of the idea of BLM, but also the M's. It was reminded of the M's, the emulate humans. And in connection
Be
to the
Elohim
hashtag.
emulation.
Yep, be Elohim emulation. And
that are being cut dramatically. So Twitch, apparently YouTube is just doing everything they can to keep the numbers down. So make sure to do that. Now, okay, folks, we're just going to take a quick break and thank some followers, thank some stick around for, and then we'll end the show with some Chinese news. So all very good stuff. Hang in there, but we want to take a quick little break, catch our breath, and thank some of the people who are getting involved with the show. Gonz, are you ready?
Ready. I'm just looking at the screen
Freddy.
and how I think we totally dropped out a couple times here. As we talked about
it's happening.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? I want to thank that we are going online, and Gonz, you guys thanking an active Easter bunny.
Nice.
That is very funny. That is one of the folks we've been waiting to follow. For those in the know, reference to Zoltan Esteban, the sort of libertarian technocrat trying to take us all into the Android future. Zoltan Easterbunny, thanks for the follow. We've got Save G1, Savage One. Thank you, Savage One. Elated Before. Thank
Not
you,
after.
Before. Yeah. Stupid Hurts.
100% true.
Yeah. Unicorn Pon M1120. My gosh. Thank you for the follow. We've got Tepehuano. Oh, I hope I didn't say something bad in another language, but thank you for the follow. Dingus Grockle. Oh my gosh. The things these people make me say. Maliwali. Thank you, Maliwali.
Sounds
and
like
then
a drug.
we've got, yes. And thank you very much for the follow. And if you haven't done it yet, we'll put the link in the chat here. Follow us at twitch.tv/CanaryCryRadio. Now, up next, we work on the value for value model. We have decided, well, it's not even just us. It's not even deciding. It's just the truth. It's for fake news. It's the reason for lies. It's the reason why it's for scaremongering. Get as many views as the main inventors of podcasting and probably the first podcaster.
Yeah.
And an important example for us, Gonz, who actually started the value for value model. He was on Joe Rogan recently, and I had never listened to Joe Rogan. I obviously probably the most famous podcaster. I never really checked out his show. I'm kind of aware of his deal and just never really did it. But Adam Curry went on the show recently. I think his episode dropped in the last couple of days, and I listened to it. And Joe Rogan, the emperor of podcasting,
the emperor.
He just rambles for 8 minutes. He starts the show with 8 minutes of advertising. Like, I'm trying to go on, listen to my buddy Adam Curry, and look, now Joe, I he's not a huge fan of obvious to go astray, but I mean, you can tell Joe is like chills. But I just really appreciated it. Yeah, and it made me realize like just how evil this advertising trap can be. So anyways, we don't do that. We are on the value for value model, which means we put out the show. We like to think we do a good job, and we try to stay as consistent as possible. And if you, the audience, gets any value out of the show, it's your responsibility, really, to put some value back in. Now, if you don't get value, that's okay. We're not asking anybody for money. Our producers, because it's the real world, baby, put it on your and Gonz, you and I, we'll hold that up in court, baby. So I want to thank some of our new producers for this show. Best way, one of the quickest ways to do that is go to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary. Brandon.
You did two at once,
more,
so yeah, I'm going to.
I know. There we go. Very good. Thank you, Damali and Brandon, for becoming producers of the show. Very important. We couldn't keep doing the show without you. Also, we have patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio, and that's patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. And all these links will pop into the chat here for anybody else who wants to become a producer. Over there at patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio, I want to thank Strongholds Failing. Producer, thank you very much. And then we've got a wonderful, I believe she upgraded to the 33 amount. So she is, again, we are continuing to try to take back that number and take it away from the elites. So thank you very much to all of our Patreon supporters/producers. You guys are the best. Now, if you don't like Patreon, that's okay. We understand. You don't want to participate in that Patreon system for whatever reason. That's why we have canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right, Gonz.
Okay.
Over there we have PayPal options, monthly support options, as well as one-time support amounts in any amount if commitment's not your thing. Who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
On PayPal, we have a handful of new producers. We have Cheryl coming in with a new monthly producership, so thank you, Cheryl. And we also have Adam. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you very much, Adam.
And we have our $33 support, of course, our 33,
yes,
which is caught on. Not
Again,
anything
we're not. Yes, we're not Illuminati members. This is producers who decided to take back the number. And who's coming in for 33?
We have Cynthia, $33.
Thank you, Cynthia.
We also have Guy.
Guy, you're my guy.
And Nicole, $33.
Thank you very much, Nicole.
So
you guys are the best.
Yes.
That's right.
And we have obviously different ways you can help produce if financial is not the thing that you can do. And we don't have any crypto today, but and no jingles that came in, but we do have art.
One art, please.
And of course, it comes from our regular artist of the show, Allie Gazelin Bonds.
Yes.
In the Twitch chat.
Allie's back. Thank
Allie
you.
is back. And today, her piece of art is called, I think I lost it. I think it has something to do with your Twitter.
Uh-oh. You got to find it.
I know. Well, I have the
most
art.
Important one.
I know. I have the art up on the screen for those of you watching. Twitter Takeover, I believe, is the name of the piece of art. Oh my gosh, my computer is not cooperating. And it's got your cats. I think there's more cats every time she draws.
I know the cat family is growing. The other one is Twitter posts for Basil. So of course the cats are ruling the content as always. And there's me standing there with some cool shorts, and I am trying to have their own accounts.
In 33 profiles. I don't know why she has multiple profiles for this cat.
Yes, and my cats are making multiple profiles to follow me, I think is what's going on here.
And then there's one on the ground. Actually, there's two of them on the ground if you look carefully. One of them is saying, "That's nothing. I've got 666."
Oh no, these evil cats.
Evil alien cats that you somehow...
Well, thank you for all the... Thanks to all the cats and kittens who follow me on Twitter. You know, interesting note, I can't remember if we mentioned this before, but remember Carol Baskin from The Tiger King?
Yeah. I remember you mentioned. Machine outside doing something and very distracting. Sounds like a trash thing. I got good.
I heard
good
just
sound
a little
gate,
bit.
so.
It's not too bad though. Yeah, your sound gate's doing fine.
Yeah. An email.
Well, thank you. Oh yes. Okay, so this is very interesting, and this is why you got to stick around for the break because we've got all sorts of good content. Now we got an email from a job. I'm a contact tracer and have been for a month now. And they wanted to give us some information from being on the inside of being a contact tracer. Now, we reported on this when it started happening. It's kind of part of the stimulus plan, get people back to work by, putting them in the employ of the government, tracing COVID contacts. And here we go. They say, okay, so here's what I'm seeing. The majority of people getting infected are people who are not taking COVID seriously. Okay. Some of them are taking it seriously, but will let their guard down in certain circumstances or be infected by members of their households. I've seen entire restaurant staff get infected for not carriers because of what they went through or because they know they spread it to other people who got really sick. I've seen people who all they did was repair a vehicle for a neighbor. They never came into contact with the neighbor and 100% got it from touching the vehicle itself, despite the summer heat. Okay. I've talked to students who were in their infectious period and went clubbing before symptoms started. I've talked to people who went to bars and restaurants before realizing they were infected and their household got extremely ill and had to be tested. Talked to people who were required by their jobs to get tested just by chance because someone else had been infected and they tested positive before symptoms began. I've talked to people who all of their roommates or dorm mates got infected. That doesn't change that the virus is real. It doesn't change that no matter how you run the numbers, the death toll is far higher than the seasonal flu. Okay, that doesn't change the fact that people actually do need to be cautious, socially distant, need to wear masks. And there are people in the population who can't wear masks. I have Asperger's, meaning I'm high functioning autistic. I have been seeing posts by fellow autistics in my Facebook group that state they cannot wear masks because of texture and they freak out and hyperventilate. There are others that are like that for different reasons medically, and I understand that. But if people who are refusing to wear masks because they don't want to be told what to do wore the masks, then the people who legit can't wear the masks would be safer. The stats that are being posted in the group are flat out false. Interesting. I've been running data on COVID since January 13th. I'm not saying do anything about the people in the group, but spreading misinformation is dangerous because those are the types of people who are being infected and spreading it in bulk, the people who won't wear masks and won't stay socially distant. It isn't going to stop anytime soon either, and it's because people who are being so stubborn about holding off on socialization, eating out, washing their dang hands, and refusing to wear masks. I, hands down, do not want to take the vaccine, period, like everyone else in the group. But unlike the people in the group, I can see that because there are so many people refusing to do what is necessary to stop the spread, that is what is going to make the vaccine mandatory. So there you go. Very interesting. This person, longtime producer. So, I mean, this is an interesting set of info to get from a longtime producer and participant in the Canary Cry community. Became a contact tracer, and they're convinced. It's hard because when you talk about testing, it's New York Times.
I'm looking at the article. Let me go back to the screen because I actually pulled up the article, and I'm very curious about that because here we are. We're kind of back. Maybe we can just be back. You want to just wake up and have this be a part of the conversation?
Wake up and get back in and have a convo about it.
Wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Okay, so we're back here, and this is the New York Times article we quoted. 2 or 3 episodes ago. The headline is, "Your coronavirus test is positive. Maybe it shouldn't be. The usual diagnostic test may simply be too testing positive. Might be a little over-exaggerated based on the available tests right now, just the way they spin the genetic material to, give a positive or negative test on a lot of people or whatever." And so, I'm very curious about what type of testing is being used by this producer who is a contact tracer.
Well, they're in the system, man. They're in the system, and they're getting their info from the, from the system. And, I think it's an important, and you can tell that there's some conflict here because, the numbers on that New York Times article, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going by memory, was that the tests are far too sensitive in the fact that they are so sensitive, they're picking up, just random little DNA particles that are reading as COVID. That means that the person might not actually be infected or symptomatic or even what is it? Contagious, because it's the equivalent of finding a hair in a room and saying that the criminal is still in the room. Just because you see the hair doesn't mean that they are hiding in the room waiting to kill you.
Yeah, the article states
it said something 90%, right? The tests, 90% of the tests, positive tests, are of this like are of this trivial nature.
Right. They base it off of the 45,604 new coronavirus cases that was maintained by the database by the Times. If the rates of contagiousness in Massachusetts and New York were to 1/10, basically, of the number that came back positive, actually have a legit concern with some kind of virus or infection, which again, even in itself, is no different than the flu in many ways. And not to mention the CDC themselves showing all the different, comorbidities that existed in people that have actually passed away.
Yeah, and I don't even want to get into like the depth of those numbers, because the conversation, I mean, we can if it's important, but I think for the context of this email where it's specifically get tested and it comes out positive, I mean, and again, this has been around the sort of conspiracy circle for a long time, but it's mainstream news now that 90% of the tests are with some of the known aspects of being tested positive. Now, 90% of those people, these hypersensitive tests. But that being said, I am of the belief that the COVID is a real virus. It's not, I don't think it's a fake virus going around. And I think there are, obviously there is some sort of real virus. It is actually impacting, it is actually spreading much smaller numbers than have been being reported. It is actually making people really sick. And it is, in some cases, in, 9,210 cases, without comorbidities, is killing people. So in that, I agree with our producer. Since this all began, I'll wear my mask mainly, but yeah, this producer, they're just going off the info that they're getting as being part of the system, what they're telling us, and they've been a longtime supporter. So they're not just some rando, hater on the internet. So I thank them for this email. Sorry to go on rambling there, Gonz.
No, it's okay. That's fine. Yeah. I think, again, I'm just curious what type of test, or if they're even given information about the details of the test that they're handing out. And obviously, the social impact is far greater than the medical stuff is, people just take it, face value.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's just right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, not a pushback per se, but just to mention, because we've mentioned it prior, is that we mentioned how in, I think, the flu season of 2017, 2018, they reported 80,000 deaths in America from the flu, like the common flu.
Right.
Which is something that has a vaccine out there already. So the numbers being whatever, 180,000 or whatever it is, people, symptoms or whatever, but I don't know that
the interesting data with that is they were saying that this year is an all-time low for flu deaths. Yeah. And I would be interested. I have not run the numbers on this, but I would like to. How many times do those COVID, the 180 some odd COVID deaths, how many times does the flu show up as a comorbidity? Right. And they're being called COVID deaths and not flu deaths. It's just a matter of transferring the data from one category to another.
Yeah.
That's a question I'm asking. I have not looked at the numbers, but I would be willing to bet, because of flu deaths this year being at an unimaginable low, that a lot of those COVID deaths have flu comorbidities that are not being counted as flu deaths. They're being coded as COVID deaths.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
Just asking questions. Hey, bro, just asking questions.
All right. Okay, so that's we appreciate that. We appreciate anybody who's out there who's a producer of the show that is involved in work that is out in the field of anything, really. I mean, anything that would give us insight on the boots on the ground type of insight into any type of situation that's out there. You know, pilots, dentists, whatever you're into.
And if you are. If you're a contact tracer and you agree with this person, let us know. Or if you're a contact tracer and have other ideas, let us know as well. We want as much boots on the ground info as we can. Again, whether you're a contact tracer, a pilot, whatever you do, let us know your experience, because that's kind of what's missing in a lot.
Label people normies. You know, if they test positive, just tell them they're normie.
Put
like,
normie on the file.
And that'll just confuse the number counters. Okay, so we have a couple different stories to land the plane for this episode. The first one here is about the quantum computer, and this is another call out to the producers. I don't think we ever received a quantum computer jingle. So if there's anybody who would like to put together some kind of quantum computer jingle, we are open for that. And since we don't have one, I will play... What jingle should I play for that?
I don't know, man. Roll the dice. Razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle. There we go.
But
we gotta have that. We gotta have that jingle ready when I become a mech pilot.
I know,
a mech racing pilot.
Yeah, and this one concerns Bitcoin. So
Bitcoin go to moon.
And this is Cointelegraph.com. No, a quantum computer won't instantly reward you with 69,000 Bitcoins yet.
What? I want that.
The latest quantum computer may not help unlock lost Bitcoin, at least not yet. A Bitcoin wallet with nearly $7 million is up for grabs, but anyone intending to be a crypto thief and nab it will have to crack the password first. Crypto Twitter user Alan Gal has put out a call to his 29,900 followers for solutions on how to gain access to 69,370.22 Bitcoin, worth roughly $695.4 million as of this writing. According to the September 8th post from the Gal, the wallet has been passed between hackers for the past 2 years without success at determining the password. This is with a private key there. Blockchain records show transactions associated with the wallet address began in April 2013. That quantum computer, please. This raises an interesting question. Using a quantum computer, what would be the chance someone can gain access to a random wallet with a lost password, even with a $695 million motivation? Advancements in quantum computing have been areas of contention for cryptocurrency proponents for some time, as many believe the machines could undermine the security of the Bitcoin blockchain. However, experts, are divided on the idea. While the very primitive present-day quantum computers cannot break blockchains and their underlying cryptography, larger ones on the horizon might have that capability. As recently as June, scientists in China were able to exchange an encryption key at a distance of 1,120 kilometers using quantum entanglement, exceeding the previous best attempt by 1,000 kilometers.
Wow, pretty impressive.
That is super impressive, yeah. Further advancements in the technology could potentially mean users would be able to authorize transactions outside of the internet. In terms of lost passwords, the technology would have the ability to go through more permutations than the best machines today to find the unencrypted passwords or even to reverse the hash. Last year, ex-Bitcoin Core developer Peter Todd called Google's quantum superiority feat a computer which solved an equation which would otherwise take 10,000 years in just 3 minutes and 20 seconds, not 3 minutes and 22 seconds, as, quote, a primitive type of quantum computing that is nowhere near breaking cryptography. However, others, including Deloitte, aren't so sure. The accounting firm's website states that current technology in quantum computing makes 25% of all Bitcoin in circulation vulnerable to attack. If enough coins were stolen, the market could potentially crash, undermining confidence in cryptocurrency. Quote, Even if everyone takes the same protection measures, quantum computers might eventually become so fast that they will undermine the Bitcoin transaction process, the firm stated. Quote, in this...
Yeah, watch out, Bitcoin folk.
Yeah, they might come after you with the quantum
say?
computers.
Oh, Dento being in the chat had a good point, and I lost it. It was a while ago, but it was something. Oh, here it is. All hackers distracted by greed now instead of truth. That's an interesting point because, hackers, of course, there's always been hackers who are just motivated by, stealing money.
Yeah.
But, you think about Anonymous, who's been kind of strangely quiet lately. You think about a lot of these hackers who have sort of devoted themselves to making the world a better place. Them from, finding, obtaining, and releasing documents about Epstein or, any of the other important things going on in the world. Distracting them with a challenge to get $700 million instead of, revealing the truth. That would be an interesting little psyop. Or conversely, if somebody's worried about, for instance, hacking the American elections, it's like, no, don't worry, hackers. Don't worry about the elections. Just go after this Bitcoin wallet. That's what you need. It's like some bait or something.
Right. That is a really good point. Yeah, it has definitely changed the temperament of hackers. But I guess, there was always that edge to hackers. And of course, if you're able, now that we have, magic internet money, of course their attention's going to go there, especially when there's a $700 million reward there. But yeah, with quantum computers, somebody was asking about like, hey, wouldn't quantum superiority make the whole blockchain, kind of moot? And, this phrase quantum superiority that Google came out with, that was a lot of marketing. Like, yeah, they did achieve this thing with a particular equation. But it's not really, quantum superiority is very, I don't know, linguistically sort of pumping themselves. It's PR, yeah. It's not really, and plus with what China's doing with exchange and encryption key, I mean, that's like with using quantum entanglement, that's pretty gnarly. That's basically teleportation right there.
Yeah,
in so many ways.
And telepathy.
That's true.
For those who
information.
Aren't familiar, quantum entanglement is where two particles will be in sync over, infinite distance. Yeah. And so if you are able to harness the power of these two particles being in sync, you can manipulate one of them and it will manipulate the other one
simultaneously.
Instantaneously with no lag. And in theory, you could do this over an infinity distance. But they've done it over 1,000 miles, which is pretty impressive for such a complicated thing for us little humans to be figuring out.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Anything else on that?
That's it. Just keep your eye on the quantum computers and keep an eye
Bitcoin.
on the Silk language, which is the most recent quantum computer programming language.
Oh, there you go, kids. There's your career focus. Silk.
Path. Silk. SILQ. And I think they're going to find interesting ways. It's really like a cat and mouse thing, Who's gonna really get there first? Because if good guys crack, a type of quantum encryption first, then something like Bitcoin can update it and keep up with the updates. But if a bad person gets it, then all bets
then
are
we're
off.
all done.
But it's not just Bitcoin. But it's not just Bitcoin, though. You know what I mean? Like the encryption for
everything.
Bitcoin.
It's your everything.
It's everything. Your emails, everything.
Yeah. If they can crack into a Bitcoin account, they can crack into literally anything.
Yep.
So let's see here. I want to. We didn't talk about this, but somebody asked it in the chat, and I think it's about time we just mention it on the show. Regarding Twitch partnership.
Oh, okay. I was kind of
say it real quick.
Chinese nuclear power, kind of important. But go ahead. Talk about the partnership.
Regarding the Twitch partnership, we for a long time, for months and months, we've been pushing for Twitch followers specifically because we wanted to make partner on Twitch, which allows us to monetize and do all sorts of fun stuff. We actually did hit the required amount of viewership to become partner, and our application is sitting in front of me. But as everybody must do, I went into the fine print of the agreement to become a partner on Twitch, and there's an exclusivity clause, which means technically we could not stream anywhere else. And we are just not ready to commit to that exclusivity clause, which just kind of goes against our whole thing. Now, if YouTube continues to shut us off and divert viewers and everything, if YouTube stops being a viable option for us, then that would take away one of the obstacles to committing to an exclusivity contract with Twitch. But at this very moment, we are not ready to do that. Who knows what will happen in the future? That may change. But as of now, we are not currently pursuing partnership with Twitch because of that mainly. Just to answer everybody's questions. We've had a few questions about that. So there you go. As of now, not planning on partnering with Twitch, but we'll keep you guys posted if that changes. Anything
Sweet.
to add to that? I think that's a simple way to put it.
Yeah. Let's just do this real quick. Oh,
yeah, real quick. China's, this is from Bloomberg.com. China's nuclear buildup changes balance of power. Some Chinese news, Gonz.
Welcome to Chinese News!
That's right. It wouldn't be a new Cold War without an accelerating nuclear arms race. The Pentagon reported last week that China is undertaking a significant nuclear, distinctly challenging for the U.S. because it compounds the worsening military situation in the Western Pacific. Since its first nuclear test in 1964, Beijing has possessed a relatively modest deterrent, an arsenal numbering first in the dozens and now in the low 200s of warheads. China is now rapidly expanding that deterrent, building more and better intercontinental ballistic missiles that will improve its ability to hit targets in the U.S. It is developing a more robust triad, a combination of long-range bombers, ballistic missile submarines, and land-based missiles that will make its nuclear capabilities more survivable against any potential attack. The Defense Department projects that in addition to doubling of China's nuclear warhead stockpiles over a decade, the number of warheads that can strike the U.S. will grow roughly 200 by 2025. The People's Liberation Army is also improving the readiness of its nuclear forces by developing a launch-on-warning capability, a posture which has about 1,400. How much and in what ways the Chinese buildup matters. One interpretation is that it doesn't. Even with 400 plus warheads, China will be far short of nuclear parity with the U.S. Beijing has retained its long-standing, if ambiguous, no first use policy, and it seems highly unlikely that China would use nuclear weapons in an unprovoked attack. Indeed, the scholars Fiona Cunningham and M. Taylor Fravel have argued that China remains very hesitant to employ nuclear weapons in most conflicts for fear that any nuclear war could spin out of control. From this perspective, the Chinese buildup might be a strategic nothing burger. Yet this interpretation raises the obvious question of why the Chinese would engage in a pointless buildup. A second interpretation holds that the buildup is strategically meaningful, but in a good way. Nuclear strategists have long warned that it can be dangerous for both sides when one actor fears that its nuclear forces are vulnerable to disarming first strike. In a crisis, an insecure nuclear power might feel pressure to use or lose its arsenal, to fire off its warheads, BMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. Conventional strikes on Chinese command and control assets could accidentally make Beijing fear losing contact with its nuclear forces. The trouble is that nuclear stability can, paradoxically, be destabilizing. There's about 5 more paragraphs in here, but that basically sums it.
That they were trying to be clever by referencing the Chinese organized crime syndicate, the Triad. Do you know about the Triad?
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of those issues where, man, like there's so much, there's so many people that think there are no nukes, or that, it's just kind of like it's become one of those war tactics that we may never see one go off ever again, truly. But it's just like, oh, look at all my guns, and then China saying like, hey, look at all my guns, and so it's
yeah. Old Two Box in the chat says nukes are like 100 years old. Boring.
I know. This is old news. We went from quantum computers to nukes, which is I'm sure is kind of boring. Maybe the quantum computers can disarm all the nukes too.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. See, good quantum computer.
I'm surprised how many people are triggered by the way I pronounce nuclear.
Nuclear.
Yeah. Nuclear. Sorry, folks. Talking about nuclears. I went to the George Bush Jr. School of Pronunciation.
Yeah, they're throwing shoes at your head.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's all I got. What do you got?
If I find one, shame on you. Shame on me. You know what I'm talking
Mission
about?
Accomplished. Yeah. Again, talk
Bush
about
Jr.
100-year-old
I know.
references.
That's not 100 years old. It's old, but not that old.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Remember us. We'll be back on Friday. That's right. September 11th is a show day this year.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll probably just be a normal show, but I don't know. Maybe we'll catch up on some 9/11 theories. Who knows? But if you're looking for something to do on 9/11, you can catch us here wherever you're watching.
I was mentioning to Basil before the show that we can put the two towers getting hit on loop. But now that I'm thinking about it, since we're all about thinking outside the cage and like reversing all the psyop taking place, maybe we play it on loop but backwards. Like the planes coming out, reversing the footage. So but then we just run it on a loop on the background for everyone to psyop.
I am uncomfortable, Gonz, but I don't know. Maybe it needs to be done. I think we need to focus on World Trade Center 7.
Oh, okay.
Not enough people talking about WTC 7.
Okay.
So we'll see. I don't know. So there you go. Catch us on September 11th. This Friday, we'll be back online somewhere probably maybe close to 1 o'clock, sometime between noon and 3. We'll be going live again, folks. So turn on notification. Make sure you pop in here. It's going to be a good show. And remember us, producers, you can be a producer for the 9/11 show. My goodness, what a special occasion.
Yeah.
Maybe there'll be some like special 9/11 support come in. We'll see.
$9.11, or if you're awesome, 911 Bitcoins.
911 Bitcoin. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, it's only $9 million.
Yeah. Thank you, Menace Sensei in the chat. Stop cyberbullying Basil. Yeah, please.
Calling out your
guys.
age.
Yeah. Okie dokie. There you go. So remember us. You can head to patreon.com/CCNT or go to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
There we go. Thank you very much. And remember, if supporting the show financially is not in the cards for you, you can create art, you can create jingles, and you can create songs. We've got some great songs going to play on the Canary Cry mixtape at the end of the show here, so don't go anywhere. But remember, you can also support the show by leaving ratings and reviews. Very important to do that. If you have not done it, please just Google Canary Cry News Talk Apple Podcasts, and you can leave a review there. Tell the iTunes robots to suggest the show to people. Very important part of the ecosystem. Or you can just send a show. You got friends, you got family. They're all starting to wake up, realizing the world is not what it seems. If they need a little help, send them a show. Just send them an episode that you like. And if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for this. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's That's right. Just News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Hallelujah.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people zoo.
You can't handle the truth.
Look it up.
Aliens.
Look it up.
Aliens.
It will kill. That was nice.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up.
Leave the bird alone.
I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
There's nothing to watch on my color TV. None of this news is what I want to see. I try tuning in to my radio. None of this talk is really quite the show for me. Finding good news is really quite the pain. Gotta find something I ain't got all day. Get on my YouTube, debates like the sun. See what's new, demonetization. Know what's this? To my surprise, I spot a big pair of googly eyes. Click on the video and turn up the sound. What is this gem that I have found? Canary. Cry radio, news talk, news talk. News talk, cry radio, news talk, cry radio, hit it.
There's a new sun rising up angry in the sky. There's a new voice saying we're not afraid to die. Let the whole world make believe it's blind and deaf and dumb, but nothing can change the shape of things to come. There are changes lying ahead in every road.
future with hosts Basil and Gonz at Canary Cry Radio, and I invite you to join us as together we experience a future quake.
Crowding out all realities. There's revolution sweeping in like a fresh new breeze. Let the old world make believe it's blind and deaf and dumb. But nothing can change the shape of things. Nothing can change the shape of things. Nothing can change the shape of things. Nothing can change the shape of things.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
People, I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.